Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Horror Game. I have the Evil God source code. Chapter 21. More than 3 meters tall, thick and shiny white bones, black muscles full of vitality between the bones, a steep face like a chiseled axe, upper and lower jaws like the first machine, and sharp teeth like a sword. And those eyeballs hanging out of the deep eye sockets, rolling around. Luo Shu was stunned. What? This? The three ghosts turned their heads and looked at Luo Shu with some concern. As spirit bodies, they know that evil spirits are really scary, because evil ghosts can kill people just because of their terrifying appearance. Looking at the terrifying Toyokawa Taro, Luo Shu's eyes were full of stars, and he said in surprise, "It's so cool. I really want to have such a pet. Oh no, I have such a shikigami." The eyes of the three ghosts suddenly changed, from worry, to admiration, and then to "Why should we worry about whether this kind of person will be scared to death? Are we worrying too much?" Toyokawa Taro's face also became uglier, as if he could understand a little bit of human language. Barrage in the live broadcast room. Luo Sauce. Even ghosts are worrying about you, can you be normal? After being told by Luo Shu, I feel that this shikigami doesn't look so. It's really a little cool. When the angle changes, the world suddenly becomes bigger. This old thing seems to be very angry. By the way, they speak languages of different countries, can they communicate smoothly? Language problem, the horror game system will help translate. Soga. Advanced. Taro Toyokawa started to move. He slightly bent his knees and jumped up suddenly. Swish. Luo Shu's complexion changed. Too fast. Toyokawa Taro's evil ghost body is too tall. Once he moves, his body will pass through the ceiling and wall and disappear. Luo Shu's thinking is also very fast, he understood at that moment. I can't fight myself. The space here is small, and the walls of the corridor are all obstacles to protect Taro Toyokawa. Even if he didn't have the skills to deal with spirit bodies. The only weapon is now outside. But he also knew that he would not be so easy to lead. In an instant, Toyokawa Taro's body silently appeared from under the ceiling. This is the dead corner of Luo Shu's head. In Toyokawa Taro's pale eyes, there is only a little black pupil, which seems to be burning with black fire. He looked bloodthirsty at Luo Shu. Come down, take a clap. Luo Shu is still at level 1 now, and his physical attributes are still that of an ordinary person. When this kind of evil ghost is slapped with his palm, he will immediately turn into a meat paste. The ghost in a suit suddenly appeared behind Luo Shu. Almost like teleporting. One person, one ghost, back to back. The ghost in the suit looked up at Zheng's father. He stretched out his hand and held the bone claws that were falling. The size contrasts sharply. The ghost in a suit deflected Toyokawa Taro's huge claws, and narrowly avoided the back of Luo Shu's head. In an instant, the bone claws and the huge body of the evil spirit were pressed down together. Half of the suit ghost's body collapsed. Only then did Luo Shu see the situation behind him, so he quickly moved a few steps away. Toyokawa Taro roared irritably, and just as he was about to rush over, the half-body ghost in a suit flashed in front of his father again. Father and son are deeply affectionate, and their eyes meet each other. The suit ghost's body was recovering, but his eyes melted, turning into 2 blood holes again. He just looked at Taro Toyokawa so firmly. Taro's skull exploded. Luo Shu frowned and stepped back a little further. Is it the skills of ghosts? Is this a mind attack? Like Kayako or Sadako? Seeing this, he suddenly lost his mind. Perhaps, the suit ghost. That is Toyokawa Jiro, who also has the powerful talent of Onmyoji. It's just that in order to avoid falling into the same predicament as his father, he never showed it. I just want to be an ordinary office worker, be oppressed by capitalists in an ordinary way, live an ordinary life, and raise an ordinary son, as long as it is my own. But he raised a son who resembled his father. I feel like I've been bound by fate all the time, it's broken. Spiritual beings seem to have strong resilience. Toyokawa Taro's head was blown up, but a new one grew out in seconds. Half of the suit ghost's body has also recovered a long time ago. The hostess also made a move, to be precise, she moved her hair. The black hair is like a waterfall, like black horseshoes, sweeping past. Instantly wrapped Taro Toyokawa. But in just an instant, Toyokawa Taro broke free from the bondage of the black hair with a sharp claw. The sharp claw was like a blade, and was about to tear other places. The son shed blood and tears, and the father's head exploded again. And he stretched out his black-haired claws, and was devoured by the female baby ghost who pounced on him. Luo Shu looked at the family of three, fighting together and cleaning up the old man together. The cruelty was very real. But after Toyokawa Taro grew his head again, he let out a loud roar. From his abyss-like mouth, it seemed as if a strong, vomit-like bloody rain spewed out. With the bloody wind filling the eyes and the rain of blood spraying, the whole corridor began to undergo strange changes. On the walls, on the floor, on the ceiling, blood spots fell, taking root and sprouting. A single pink granulation, then grow rapidly and spread into pieces. After a while, tender red wriggling pieces of meat were everywhere in the entire space. If the scene needs Doxulu, there will be Doxulu. The ghost of this script world. Can create such a large-scale special field. Luo Shu squatted down and carefully touched the flesh and blood creep on the ground. Warm, viscous, wriggling. Since he thought he couldn't help at the moment and the road was blocked, he observed and studied with peace of mind. Should it be some kind of illusion? As he spoke, he licked the mucus on his palm. Okay, some fishy, sour. If it wasn't for illusion, it would be very powerful. Luo Shu thought of an interesting possibility. I don't know if this meat is edible. If it can be eaten healthily, then raising more such evil spirits and making more flesh and blood creeps can solve the world's food crisis. Barrage in the live broadcast room. I'm eating. No. I'd rather starve to death. The big guy is the big guy. Look, why don't I have this kind of brain hole? The most frightening thing is that in such an environment, you will die in a matter of minutes, and you are still thinking about such nonsense. The female ghost's long hair was wrapped in layers, wrapping Toyokawa Taro into a black cocoon. But after the flesh and blood creep was formed, the cocoon slowly shrank, as if Taro Toyokawa inside was melting. Here the daughter-in-law found something was wrong. This old man is gone. The female ghost let go of her long hair, and there was nothing inside. The daughter suddenly shouted in panic, "Mom!" They looked at the little girl. I saw a big bone hand sticking out from the flesh and blood blanket, grabbing the little girl's ankle, and gradually pulling the little girl down. Same ghost, but different ranks. Half of the little girl's left leg has sunk in, so it looks like she will be swallowed by the old ghost Toyokawa Taro soon. Blood and tears flowed from her father's eyes, his thoughts were surging, and the creep on the ground was also surging like a tide. But it only opened an inch, and Taro Toyokawa exposed half of his dead head. The girl ghost is about to be pulled down completely. Hey! A loud chirp. Tear. The corridor channel that was clogged with flesh and blood was suddenly torn open. Poplar Shulin waved his shovel fiercely, smashing through the fleshy wall with one shovel. Also smashed the top of Taro Toyokawa's head. The shovel is stained with blood and corpse aura, murderous and resentful, and has condensed the attribute of Sha over the years. For the spirit body is more restrained. Luo Shu never expected that she would rush in. Why did you come in? Yang Shulin looked puzzled. Of course I saved you. Otherwise. At that moment, Luo Shu couldn't laugh or cry, but was a little moved. This woman, is she stupid? In his mind, the difficulty of the script world is set with reference to the player's level, and the difficulty will not be too high. Even if he didn't unlock the worldview and get the forbidden technique, there must be other solutions. For example, as long as the lost parts of the three ghosts are returned to complete their souls, it may be 3 against 1. The situation in front of him is like this. Although Toyokawa Taro, an old ghost, possesses a similar range of buff abilities and is obviously stronger, but 3v1, according to Luo Shu's judgment, there is a high probability that they will die together in the end. But when the poplar forest came over, it was easy to get caught in it. The girl ghost was rescued by her parents. She said in a childish voice, "Thank you, sister." Well, that's nice. Seeing this little ghost, Yang Shulin was a little scared. But she immediately shouted domineeringly at Luo Shu, "Didn't you say you were going out to do something? Hurry up, I'll hold him back." Toyokawa Taro was really drawn to hate. His 2 pale eyes stared at Yang Shulin, and let out a roar. The poplar forest is another shovel. The special effect of the evil attribute, every hit will bring up a burst of blood mist. Toyokawa Taro's breastbone was smashed. This weapon can convert 30% of the power into spiritual damage. It seems that Yang Shulin is quite powerful. Luo Shu knew that since she was here, the most important thing was to hurry up now. Immediately nodded, and then rushed out to the hole she tore open. You three, come with me. Quick, the three ghosts rushed into the yard even faster. While Luo Shu was running, he began to recite the mantra of forbidden technique and spiritual union, and his hands quickly formed seals. Very proficient. The first half of the spell in his mouth is in Japanese. Roughly means, I will reverse the yin-yang order. I will sign a forbidden agreement with you lie as the soul at the corpse site. I will cross the forbidden zone of life and death. Later, it broke away from the category of language, as if it was a weird pronunciation of some kind of alien. If it wasn't for the skills that can be directly imported into the brain, Luo Shu felt that it would be difficult for him to explain this spell clearly no matter what. The last handprint is the sun-defying wheel print. 3 ghosts stood beside him. The storm rises. With Luo Shu as the center, the gust of wind swept through countless cherry blossom petals, forming a rotating flower prison. Luo Shu felt it. Something melts into the body. My body is getting lighter and lighter, and my mind is a little confused. San value began to fluctuate. After a while, everything settled down. The wind stops and the clouds gather, and the rain of flower petals falls one after another. In this beautiful scene, stood a strange person. Luo Shu is still Luo Shu, but his appearance has changed a lot. His hair has become very long, hanging loosely behind his head and hanging down his waist, looking like a woman from his back. His eyes were pitch black, his face was extremely pale, almost transparent, and he could even see the blood flowing in the blood vessels under his skin. This is, looking at his slender and sharp hands with his dark eyes, Luo Shu murmured. The power of ghosts. Just after completing the fusion, a skill suddenly popped up in front of him. Name, Ghost Crawl. Type, Skill, Ghost. Special Effect 1. In the crawling state, nerve reflexes and limb agility plus 300%. Special Effect 2. In crawling state, immune to ghost domain. Usage method. One-time use. Learning condition. Use the forbidden technique. After spirit combination. Requirements for use. Crawling. Remarks. Get down. Open long G. Luo Shu. What kind of ghost skill is this? However, Luo Shu also guessed that even ordinary people in life will naturally acquire certain special abilities when they become ghosts after death. I am now half a ghost, and this is the unique skill of myself as a ghost. Do you want to get down? Fortunately, Luo Shu had no sense of shame, and immediately prostrated himself on the ground. Then try to get up. Left hand, left foot, right foot. Luo Shu's dark pupils suddenly widened. Okay, it feels good. Very coordinated. Inside the house, the screams of Poplar Shulin came. Oh shit. Luo Shu quickly climbed inside. The system also pops up prompts in due course. Trigger hidden mission. Kill, Shikigami, Taro Toyokawa. Yang Shulin knew that he was dying. The terrifying evil spirit in front of him just scratched his stomach with his fingertips. Her large intestine, small intestine and duodenum flowed out. She collapsed powerlessly on the ground, leaning against the disgusting wriggling wall, with blood spilling from the corner of her mouth. Farewell, this beautiful world. Farewell, Dad, Mom. Shabi's ex-boyfriend actually came out of the closet. I haven't had time to call you a big grandson. She looked at her life with blurred eyes, only 3% left to falter. The stamina value has been emptied. The san value is okay, stable at 30%. In the blurry picture in front of her eyes, the towering evil ghost came up close and gently pressed her forehead with her fingertips. So be it. She closes her eyes. Boom. The sound of something exploding. Ah. Yang Shulin opened his eyes in astonishment, only to see that the big bone hand in front of his forehead had collapsed, and only Toyokawa Taro was left holding his severed wrist and crying. Hey, look here. Luo Shu's voice suddenly sounded above his head. Yang Shulin opened his eyes in astonishment. With blurred vision, he could only see a lump of white shadow. The terrifying Toyokawa Taro turned his head, and when he saw Luo Shu on the wall, he opened his mouth unconsciously. I was so shocked that I forgot to start. I saw a long-haired man in a white coat crawling upside down on the ceiling strangely, completely ignoring gravity, and his speed was really fast. Using both hands and feet, he climbed out of the phantom. Where he passed, the blanket of flesh and blood melted like snow meeting boiling soup. Luo Shu turned back and smiled. His eyes were completely black, and 2 lines of blood and tears were left behind. It was extremely sad and weird. He opened his mouth and showed his big white teeth in a smile. Your son's mind attack is very useful. Taro Toyokawa's jaw was about to dislocate. Nah, ni, barrage in the live broadcast room. Jojo, I am no longer a human being. Extra, laugh out loud. Luo Shu is completely out of character. Are you a player or a boss? Old man Toyokawa's bewildered eyes make people feel distressed. Ha 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 ha. A shikigami was emptied of sand value by the player. Do you want to be such a ghost? Why not walk on foot? Climb. It must be some kind of skill. Look at him, how fast he climbs. Like you, fierce version of Spider-Man. Luo Shu didn't give him any time to react. Just like a flying Xiaoqiang, he fell on Taro Toyokawa's face with a single swipe. Bite. Devour. What? Taro Toyokawa let out a cry of pain. He sank, trying to blend into the flesh and blood creep, but there was no creep behind him. He just wanted to sink into the ground, so he opened the distance first. But Luo Shu had already picked up the bloody shovel and placed it behind Taro Toyokawa, preventing him from retreating. Together violently, the huge body of more than 3 meters was lifted up. Luo Shu's hand speed is miraculously fast now. The backhand made the shovel appear above him again. Front. Shoot it down. Ah 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 ah. In Toyokawa Taro's cry of pain, his face was smashed and sunken. The special effects of blood mist are flying. Toyokawa Taro's recovery is very fast, but recovery also requires energy consumption, and there is a limit. Next, Luo Shu picked up the shovel and hit the drum 30 times a second. Occasionally, use your mind to blow it up. His long hair poured down, spreading a huge carpet of black hair on the ground. It made it impossible for Toyokawa Taro to sneak into the ground. The power of the 3 ghosts and the use of different abilities made Luo Shu very excited. This is an unprecedented sense of power. As a result, his sand value has been going up and down. 115%, 113%, 116%, 112%. This forbidden skill that other players use is estimated to have to die, but when he uses it, it has almost no consumption like passive. Sitting slumped beside him, Yang Shulin, whose vision was blurred, admired the monster teammates in front of him from the bottom of his heart. The netizens who came here admiringly in the live broadcast room were even more amazed. Although they can't see the player's item bar, skill bar and other interfaces, they can see 3 types of values including the sand value. The ups and downs of Luo Shu's passionate sand value make everyone see it as if they are in a dream. The fighting power is just as terrifying. In front of the half-human, half-ghost Luo Shu, Toyokawa Taro, who looked mighty and terrifying, was totally vulnerable. Luo Shu's agility in ghost-crawling state is too high. Without the buff of the flesh and blood creep, Toyokawa Taro's simple attack method would have been impossible to touch Luo Shu. And even if he wanted to escape, when he turned his face, Luo Shu had already crawled in front of him, blocking the way out. Shovel headshot, psychic bomb, tentacle-like long hair attack. Bite, devour. Toyokawa Taro's spirit body gradually became smaller and incomplete under the Sha attribute of the shovel, amidst the blood mist flying, and under the attack of a variety of ghost-type skills. In the end only one head remained. He looked at Luo Shu in horror. Speak the first human words. Jerky, frightened. You. R. Evil, devil. Last shovel. Boom. The head is completely broken. Toyokawa Taro's spirit body has completely disappeared. Hidden mission. Kill, Shikigami, Taro Toyokawa. Completed. Main quests are covered. Main task. Survive for 12 hours to complete by default. Preparing to send. Luo Shu wasn't even out of breath. In this half-human, half-ghost state, he had very little need to breathe. He did not choose to teleport immediately, but chose to teleport after 90 seconds. Luo Shu first unlocked the forbidden technique. Spiritual cooperation. Although this skill has been learned, the 3 ghosts fused in this script world cannot be taken away. In the definition of horror games, they belong to NPC. NPC cannot be used as an item to bring out the script. 3 ghosts, like jelly, gradually protruded from his body and pulled out. Luo Shu gradually lost strength, and his health returned to 25% from 25% plus 300%. 3 ghosts appeared beside him, each of them looked very imaginary, with undulating figures, almost transparent. Hey, send it quickly. Luo Shu looked at Yang Shulin, who had been disemboweled, and said urgently, teleport it out, and all the injuries on the body will be recovered. Yang Shulin's complexion was pale, he was almost sitting in a pool of his own blood, and tried to smile. It's okay, there's still 2% of HP. It's too late, just tell me, am I? Very speaking of morality. Luo Shu was speechless for a while. Don't be so honest in the future, this game will really die. It's good not to hurt your teammates, and you don't have to sacrifice yourself for others, right? Yang Shulin said with difficulty, I haven't thought about it. Luo Shu couldn't help laughing, and the corners of his mouth twitched a few times. As soon as I saw you, I knew that there was no sign of any activity in the higher functions of your cerebral cortex. Yang Shulin let out a hard bawl, and said again, I don't know if we can meet again in the future. The friend function of the thriller game has not been activated yet, it will be activated in the future. I hope I can add you by then. Rank up together, take off. Luo Shu said, why do you have the quality of saying last words? Is this talent? Yang Shulin, then, I'm leaving, see you later. Wait, Luo Shu picked up the bloody shovel and put it in her hand, put it away. Yang Shulin only had 2% of his health left, and he was still humbly saying, no, you found this. Luo Shu said, although you can pass the level even if you don't save me, but you saved me, I should get a high score. After all, maybe I earned it. The quality of this equipment is very average, I don't like it, you take it, let's go. TCH, it's obviously for me. But the words are so unpleasant. Yang Shulin didn't have time to talk nonsense, she put it away, and then said, withdraw. Bye, I hope we can live to meet again next time. Okay. Before the 90 seconds were over, Yang Shulin chose to teleport directly. The 3 ghosts watched quietly. Seeing that there was still time, Luo Shu was curious, so he hurriedly asked, 3. By the way, why did you become ghosts? It's not like everyone here will turn into ghosts after death, right? Under the soil outside, there should be more corpses, also killed by Toyokawa Kuroki, they are just quiet corpses. The 3 ghosts looked at each other and said in unison, we don't know. Okay. Luo Shu was silent for a while, then, goodbye. Start teleportation. The reward is being settled for you. The 3 ghosts watched in amazement that Luo Shu also disappeared in place. In an instant, Luo Shu returned to the pure white teleportation room. About the script world just now. Since there is a lot more information than the novice task, the doubts have also increased a lot. For example, what he asked just now, why did these 3 become ghosts? Is there something wrong with the house itself? Who is the teacher called by the ghost in a suit? Judging from the letters received, on Myoji's loss of control, Taro Toyokawa's mutation, the world is not experiencing a large-scale spiritual recovery, is it? And also, did that old Toyokawa Taro attack his daughter-in-law? Toyokawa Kuroki is so similar to his grandfather, is it inherited from another generation or? Think carefully, never mind, it has nothing to do with me. Luo Shu thought, there should be no chance to return to the same script world. Settlement has been completed. Main task, 1/1. Hidden mission, 1/1. Clear the script, get experience points, 50. Clear the script and get game coins, 100. Acquired items, equipment, none. Acquired skill, forbidden art. Spiritual cooperation. According to the player's specific performance in the script, the newly unlocked field, X3. Magic domain, E. Mysterious domain, E. Firearms field, E. According to the player's specific performance in the script, the spiritual realm will be upgraded. The field of investigation has been upgraded. Spiritual domain, D. Field of investigation, D. Comprehensive score, S. Extra experience value, game currency bonus, 100%. Experience points, 100. Game currency, 200. Number of fans, 3,211. Fan coin, 70. Congratulations, the player has been upgraded. LV1, LV2. Obtain a small increase in basic attributes. After the upgrade, Luo Shu obviously felt a little different. The system not only emptied his exhaustion state, but also on the original basis, Luo Shu obviously felt that his body was lighter, which was the most intuitive feeling. He lowered his head and touched his chest. Subcutaneous fat thinned by 2 mm, muscle latitude increased. Luo Shu is very satisfied with this setting of the horror game. All properties are hidden. Moreover, each upgrade has a significantly different percentage increase for different attributes, and the improvement is completely based on the player's performance in the game, just like the domain. The domains he upgraded this time, Spirit and Exploration, and Spirit obviously benefited from his abnormal SAN value. If he keeps it up, his Spirit domain may soon be raised to the highest level. The Investigation is the embodiment of his reasoning and judgment. And the attribute points he upgrades will also be added according to the player's long-term performance to strengthen his own advantages. In the long run, his strengths will be stronger and his weaknesses will be weaker. Wait, Luo Shu suddenly found an obvious abnormality in the settlement list. What's the situation with so many fans? Luo Shu remembered that after the novice mission, there were only 26 fans. Now it has increased by 3,205 people. What happened? Why did the horror game platform push advertisements to itself? Do you have this service? Although he didn't know what was going on outside, Luo Shu at least knew that he might really have a little popularity. Insert 70 coins, that's a reward of 7,000 yuan. Luo Shu didn't know whether this increase was more or less. After all, he didn't pay much attention to horror games before. His mood did not fluctuate. If it was in the outside world, and he became a small internet celebrity for no reason, and someone tipped him off, he might be a little happy. But here, everything is unknowable. He didn't know when the so-called closed beta would end. He also didn't know what would change in the public beta. He didn't even know if he could, lucky, survive in the next script world. So now, he just wants to make good use of every game currency. He reviewed the game a little bit, the game just now. The comprehensive score is S, which is a notch higher than the A+ of the novice task. But Luo Shu was not satisfied. The biggest mistake is that I shouldn't let Yang Shulin drink the water. I have already judged that there are people living in the house, and there is no water in the faucet, and the water in the kettle cannot be replenished, and I still think I am smart. What a stupid mistake. If the water didn't move, we would have a lot of choices. We can choose to hide in the basement and wait for the end of the mission, which is a low-scoring clearance method, or we can have more time to discover more after taking a break in Toyokawa Karaoke. Clues: there may be more advanced customs clearance methods. Luo Shu roughly reviewed the video, but he didn't think too much about it. Because the world of horror games is too rich. No one knows how many equipment and props are hidden in a script world, and how many clues and tasks are hidden. At this time, there were already 2 pieces of content waiting to be read in the notification bar, and the system was smart enough not to jump out of the dialog box to disturb Luo Shu's thoughts. Luo Shu took the initiative to use his consciousness to open the content to be read. In the previous game, if the player's SAN value dropped by less than 30%, he could get an extra chance to draw a lottery. Your SAN value dropped to 0%. Lucky draw ticket all categories X1. Lucky draw ticket all categories as long as it is within the appropriate range of the player's current level. Equipment, items, and special props of any quality can be drawn here. Luo Shu did not hesitate. Use. After the special effects of the exaggerated animation gift box, boom. A matte silver surfboard without any patterns or patterns appeared in the picture. Congratulations to the players. Awarded 3rd place. When Luo Shu saw the 3rd prize, he was so excited. The last brainstem scalpel, remember it was the 5th prize. This time I jumped 2 gears. Acquire a vehicle, a flying surfboard. Name, flying surfboard. Type, vehicle. Quality, rare. Special effects, you can ride the wind, but not break the waves, and the maximum speed can reach 500 meters per second during operation. How to use. This product is paired with heavy magnetic shoes and brain computer patches. It is recommended to use it at the same time. The following is the instruction manual. Requirements for use. The exploration field has been unlocked, and the level has reached LV2. Remarks. 6 hours of charging, half a minute of use. As a useless and good product produced by Yadidi Future Toys Company, this thing can only be said, the strength of the alloy is not bad. Luo Shu carefully read the instruction manual. The capacitance of this surfboard is amazing. First of all, this thing takes a long time to charge. And the upper limit is very low. The remarks are very reliable. It really needs to be charged for 6 hours and used for half a minute, but this is not enough to fly at full speed. Luo Shu only felt that he was being played. This thing, is it really the third prize? And the quality is still rare. Forget it, let's put it away first. A fully packaged flying surfboard appeared on the ground. After Luo Shu unpacked it, he put the main body of the surfboard, the delivered heavy magnetic shoes and the brain computer patch into the equipment rack. Fortunately, the 3 items are a set, occupying only 1 equipment slot. There is one more notice. The player unlocked the world view in the game just now, and can get an extra chance to draw a lottery. Lucky Draw Ticket, Skill X1. Lucky Draw Ticket, Skill Category. As long as it is within the appropriate range of the player's current level, any skill can be drawn. A. Unlocking the world view. Is there a chance to draw a lottery? Luo Shu realized that he hadn't read the rules of the game carefully enough. But now he doesn't have much enthusiasm for the lottery system. With a dispensable mentality, Luo Shu chose to use it. This time it was not a gift box, but an animation of a black leather scroll, which was slowly opened. Jingguang Dasheng. Then converge. Congratulations to the players. Get the 4th prize. Acquisition of skill, Killing Pig Knife Technique. Before Luo Shu had time to complain, the animation in front of him fluctuated for a while, garbled characters appeared, and then it was familiar again. Data deletion modification. Ah, here it is again. Although he didn't understand the origin of the abnormal source code at all, Luo Shu still had some expectations. Acquisition of the skill, Sister Killing Sword Technique. Seeing the name of this skill, Luo Shu almost spit out blood. What is this? Name: Sister Killing Sword Technique. Type: Skill, Sword Technique. Special Effect 1, Sword Drawing. Beheading. Charge for 1 second, draw the knife. Hit a female NPC or female hostile player first. The opponent will receive real damage equal to 20% of the maximum HP. Special Effect 2, Passive, Fear Halo. After the first cut successfully sees blood, activate the passive. Injured female opponents will continue to have hallucinations of fear on the user, and continue to weaken combat effectiveness. People with rich imagination or psychological trauma will be affected exponentially. Usage method: Permanent Mastery. Learning conditions: The domain of swords and swords has been unlocked, the spiritual domain has been unlocked. Requirements for use: There must be a real knife in the hand, and there must be a scabbard. Consumption: 100% spiritual power. Remarks: If you don't have a woman in your heart, you can draw your sword and be a god of nature. The first page of the knife manual, Kill the Sweetheart. Luo Shu originally wanted to complain. This skill is suspected of discrimination. But think about it, horror games are not serious in the first place, and it is estimated that other female players will also acquire similar skills. For example, causal law castration, male beheading sword technique, male creature pregnancy magic, etc. In short, just looking at the characteristics of this skill, Luo Shu was very pleasantly surprised. This skill is simply terrifying. There is real damage that ignores any defensive gear and skills. It can also trigger the hallucination type passive. If you fight against a female player in the future, it is estimated that the SAN value of the female player will drop drastically. These 2 special effects are perfect. Although, it is very limited. But so what? Forbidden Technique and Spiritual Union are even more limited. God knows if we can encounter complete souls in the script world in the future, and can voluntarily fuse them. But the possibility of encountering female NPC opponents is much greater. And as mentioned in the skill introduction, it is estimated that there will be many opportunities in the future to encounter situations where players kill each other. As for the consumption of spiritual energy, spiritual power is the 4th largest value besides health, stamina, and sanity. He was also in the world of the last script, and he was able to unlock it only after he used up the forbidden technique. I can't see the specific value of spiritual power, but the total should be very low. Luo Shu checked the relevant rules again. Spiritual power value. The important energy that drives most of the skills in the magic domain, and some other domain skills. The initial value is extremely low and can increase with upgrades. The absolute value is permanently increased by means of passing on skills and so on. Under normal circumstances, the consumed spiritual power will slowly recover over time. It is roughly equivalent to the absolute value of true chi in the world of martial arts, true energy in the world of cultivating immortals, and magic and battle chi in the world of Western fantasy. Luo Shu probably thought about the many possibilities in future battles. Spirituality is indeed important, but now, I don't have any skills that require spiritual power. Then empty it. After thinking it over, Luo Shu was very realistic and decisively learned this skill. At this point, everything is settled. He opened the personal panel and took a look. Username: Luo Shu. User level: LV2. Current experience: 15,200. Fans: 3,237. Game currency: 27. Unlocked fields: 9/10. Equipment: 2/10 brainstem scalpel, flying surfboard. Item: 1/50th blood with BT immunosuppressant. Skills: 2/10 forbidden technique. Spiritual cooperation, sister killing sword technique. After reading it carefully, Luo Shu complained, items are nothing more than 10 slots in the equipment and skill bars, and I guess I won't be able to put things in soon. There are no functions such as storage, so I will equip them later. What should I do if I can't fit in the skills? Throw it away, it's too painful. He thought about it, and there is no throwaway function either. According to the rules of the game, items can be consumed and equipment can be damaged, but they cannot be discarded. Even if they are lost in the script world, they will automatically return to the item bar or equipment bar after the end. But immediately, Luo Shu thought of a mall where players can trade freely, which can be opened after level 5. That, presumably they can only sell the extra skills and equipment, right? Afterwards, Luo Shu had nothing to do, so he called up the game mall in his mind, and went around the self-operated mall, but there was really nothing reliable to buy. Although his white coat was damaged in the game, it was repaired when he returned to the rest space. I'm too lazy to change those without attribute bonuses. So even though he had a lot of game currency in his pocket, Luo Shu was only willing to buy food, and bought himself a Cantonese meal, which also only cost 1 game currency. Save the rest of the money for use after level 5. Next, while eating happily at the dining table, he silently reviewed various game rules in the space of consciousness. Prepare for your next entry into the game. At this moment, the outside world. Luo Shu already has a loyal following. Someone even specially edited the material, edited his video, and spliced together some clips of his novice mission and haunted house mission. Many netizens who pay attention to horror games have seen such a video on the short video platform. A glass door slightly stained with blood. Suddenly, a monster pounced on it. Bang! Put it on the door. Stick tight. A horrible man with bloody eyes, no nose, only hollow nasal cavity, a feline mouth, and a pair of horns stitched on his head, just sticking to the glass door, screaming at the back of the door. His lower body is actually many tentacles of an octopus, flesh suckers one by one, which fit on the glass door, making him even more sinister and twisted. Then, the camera cuts to Luo Shu's face. Luo Shu's expression was startled at first, and then quickly calmed down, even revealing a trace of morbid appreciation. He said, "What a beautiful creature." At this time, the pink filter was added, and the background music sounded. It's a heartbeat, I can't hide my bad eyes, my heartbeat for you. The scary monster, Luo Shu's eyes, combined with the pink filter and the appropriate BGM, there is a feeling of love. The next second, switching to the haunted house again, Luo Shu said to the girl ghost with a bloody face and only a pair of bright black eyes, "You are very cute." The girl's face was already red enough, but with the special blushing effect, it didn't look bloody at all. By the way, I also added big-eyed cute special effects for her. It looks very cartoony. The background music also switched. "Oh baby. Talk more about love. Let me really see." Switch again. In the narrow corridor, the bottle corks burst open, and black and white fountains gushed out. Like a ghost from hell, the splicing and combination was completed quickly, with a hunched body, looking down coldly at the front. Luo Shu first had a terrified expression on his face. This. Soon, he was overwhelmed with surprise, with a pure and joyful expression like a 7-year-old child. So cool. I really want to have such a pet. Oh no, raising such a shikigami. Toyokawa Taro's face was also shocked when he heard this. His pupils as small as pinheads shook, his ferocious expression collapsed, his mouth without a trace of flesh slowly opened. It didn't look scary just now, but a little demented. A petrified filter was added to the screen for the evil ghost Taro Toyokawa, and 2 exaggerated flowing tears were added to the BGM. I want to cry, come to test if I'm paralyzed. Video ends. The uploader below the video wrote, "Salute to Mr. Luo Shu for his wonderful aesthetics." This video, 20 minutes after it was uploaded, was recommended as a popular video. Most of the reviewers are fans of horror games, but very few know Luo Shu, but there are many taps to help introduce the publicity. Ha 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 ha, awesome, which great god is this? Why haven't I seen it? A new face, it should be a newcomer. It seems that he is a newcomer with excellent aesthetics. I saw the video of his novice task on the P station, and the final autopsy was really fierce. Luo Shu. I just watched his haunted house clearance live broadcast. Absolutely. I can only say absolutely. At the beginning, I thought he had an interesting personality and a morbid aesthetic, but now I find that he is a real genius. In the script world of the haunted house, both of them survived, and Luo Shu really contributed a lot. Is there really such a person? Still so skinny in a horror game? It's not pie, he really has a mental problem, he doesn't seem to be afraid, or he appreciates those scary things. Go and have a look. The SAN value of this product has never been lowered to 100%, Big Fairy. The horror game has been in closed beta for half a year, and at least tens of thousands of people around the world have been absorbed into the game world. Players die tragically in the plot every day. This extremely tragic and weird game has attracted more audiences. It's just that there are so many players, although there are occasionally excellent ones, they are all the same. Few of them are really generous and not afraid of death. Before they die, the popularity of this wave of players will rise very high. As for Luo Shu, it seems that he loves these twisted and terrifying existences from the bottom of his heart, and he has a high IQ and a showy operation, which is very rare. Rare things are more expensive. After clearing the world of the first serious script, Luo Shu became even more popular after some internet-fermented publicity. The horror game section of Station P has a list of domestic popular players. Simply ranked by popularity, there are a total of 500 people. Luo Shu's name suddenly appeared in the 420th place after being refreshed at 12 o'clock in the morning. Of course, purely in terms of popularity, it is still very low. After all, most people only pay attention to the top star players, and few people pay attention to the players after 100. But at least, more and more people are paying attention to him. In horror games, the number of fans determines how many additional game currency sources there are. The importance of this resource will become more and more obvious as the level increases and the opening of the trading mall. Luo Shu woke up. After simply washing up, he walked to the teleportation room consciously. As he expected, the moment he walked in, the system sent a reminder. Player, please get ready and enter the teleportation. It may be because he has already walked in, so the prompt is interrupted. 2. Please prepare as soon as possible, players are about to enter the game. Countdown 60 seconds. Luo Shu's reaction was different from the vast majority of players who were caught in horror games. Every time they see the entry prompt of the system, most of them feel extremely anxious and crazy. Their feelings are similar to the alarm bell at work, the teacher's roll call, or a married man hearing his wife tell him to go to bed. Such negative emotions are magnified 100 times. And Luo Shu, eyes twinkle, gear up, excited like a 20-year-old freak. Really been waiting. What kind of world is this time? His eyes darkened, and a soft call that seemed to come from the depths of the nether world sounded in his ears. Welcome to Thriller Game. Click. Something was worn around the neck, which was cold. Luo Shu found himself sitting on a high-backed chair. His hands were cut behind his back, and his feet were fixed to the chair legs with high-strength plastic cable ties. This is an overly spacious study. A man in a suit with a cold face silently put a cold thing around Luo Shu's neck, then walked away, and with a click, he put another on the neck of the man beside him. Then without saying a word, he turned and walked out of the study. "All go, what's the situation? Why did you get tied up?" A dull and honest male voice sounded from Luo Shu's left side. Luo Shu turned his head and saw his teammates. A middle-aged man with a big waist and a round waist, with small eyes, looks a bit like a fat version of Majin Buu, wearing overalls that he obviously bought from the game mall, khaki standard style. This kind of clothes has a lot of pockets, is strong and grass resistant, and the price is cheap. Many players will definitely choose to buy them. Around his neck, a metal ring had just been installed. On the side of the metal ring, there is a dial-like device with a green light on it. I don't know what it is used for. His rank and name appeared above his head. Zhongfeng LV4. Hey, not bad, 2 levels higher than me. I don't know if you can fly me. Luo Shu occasionally thought naively. The teammate on the right also spoke. It's normal, just take it as the plot requires. Luo Shu turned his head to the right again, and saw a very beautiful woman in a black denim jacket, jeans, and a peaked cap. She had a frosty face, and seemed to struggle a bit in displeasure, but unfortunately her hands were firmly fixed behind the back of the chair by handcuffs. Many scripts are like this. Players will have an identity that blends into the world, and the system can easily let we appear in this world without any sense of disobedience, fabricating our identities and creating a false but real past, present, and even future. She smiled wryly. I don't know what our identities are now. It feels like we are about to become prisoners. Is it a timer on the neck? Yuanqi, LV3. Luo Shu nodded approvingly on the surface, with a look of, oh. That's it, Sodasanai, but actually thought. Isn't it just the pre-identity, so many things are missing. The LV2 on the top of Luo Shu's head makes him look very convincing. He retracted his observations of these two. Think for a while. Obviously, this is a 3-person script. But this time I haven't jumped out of the mission, I guess I have to wait for the plot. It's not really starting yet, just giving them time to observe and get acquainted with their teammates. It seems that the horror game will gradually increase the number of people who pass through the script world. There are 2 people in the previous game and 3 people in this game. I believe the difficulty will also increase linearly. Thinking of this, Luo Shu raised his eyes to observe the environment. Directly in front is a solid wood desk that looks very expensive at first glance. It is very clean, and only a delicate brass globe is rotating. It can be seen that the user of this desk does not actually need to work. Either rich or expensive. Behind it is the bookshelf that occupies the entire wall. Since the ceiling of this room is about 6 meters high, the bookshelf is very exaggerated, like some online celebrity libraries. There are not many books, most of which are listed various world-class famous wines. Well, very rich, not expensive. Luo Shu looked to the left, where there was an exaggerated floor-to-ceiling glass, and the bustling city night scene was outside. He tried to recognize which city it was from the towering buildings. Zhongfeng also craned his neck to look out. Where is this, can you see it? Yuanqi was obviously quite knowledgeable, and she recognized the building not far away that looked like a big utility knife at a glance. This is Hong Kong Island. The Bank of China building on Hong Kong Island. Luo Shu added. It's Hong Kong Island in a parallel world, and there are 2 more buildings of the same height next to it, which I don't have in my memory. Only then did Yuanqi and Zhongfeng take another look at him, and found that Luo Shu, who was wearing a white coat, looked a little strange. Doctor, why didn't he buy a more practical suit at the mall? This is what they both think. The door opened behind, and several footsteps walked in together. 4 burly men in suits with strong stature and swift steps stood on both sides after entering. Luo Shu twisted his neck to see as much as possible. After upgrading, he felt that his eyesight had improved. It's very clear. Each of these big men carried guns in their arms, and one of them even carried 2 guns. Thick back, thick neck, calloused fists, they are all Lianjiazi. Zhongfeng. You said, what are they doing? Luo Shu. Blush and thick neck, either a rich man or a cook. Zhongfeng. Huh, cook. What is the cook doing all this time? Yu Anqi was very angry. This idiot can also tell that he is a professional bodyguard. Luo Shu glanced at her and thought of his sister killing knife technique. I have no sense of humor at all. Yu Anqi was speechless. Zhang Feng's character was simple and honest, and then he realized, wow. Big brother, you have such a good attitude. You are still joking now. Shut up, chef number 1 shouted. Cantonese, automatically translated by the system. Be quiet, lower your head. Are you looking for death? The cook number 2 shouted. Zhang Feng and Yu Anqi lowered their heads and kept silent. Luo Shu clamped the chair with both hands, and then tapped his toes, hitting the ground crazily. Under his efforts, the high-back chair swayed wildly back and forth. Then he moved a little bit. To the amazement of the bodyguards and the stunned eyes of his teammates, he managed to turn 30 degrees and change the direction while being bound. Then Luo Shu turned his nostrils to the sky and stared at the 2 bodyguards who spoke just now. I won't. What? Shoot me. Do you dare? I bet you don't have any bullets in your gun. The teammates looked at Luo Shu in shock, their eyeballs almost popped out. The 2 bodyguards also choked and looked at each other. What kind of spirit is this? The spirit of playing tricks. Luo Shu's san value rose by 12 points for a short time due to his deadly behavior. Seeing Luo Shu's arrogance, one of the younger bodyguards was a little impatient. You bet, are you kidding me? I'll kill you, you punk. Pistol. Another bodyguard quickly grabbed his hand, and before he could speak, an old man coughed at the door. Cough, cough, cough. The bodyguard's expression changed immediately, and he quickly put away his gun. The other 3 bodyguards also retracted their skins, adjusted their postures, and stood up straighter. The whole study suddenly became very quiet. Luo Shu, who sat in the other direction, could see the door from this angle. There walked in a very temperamental old man. The old man looked to be in his 70s, with long pale hair tied loosely behind his head, and wearing a black gilded nightgown, but with his temperament, he looked like a dragon robe. Behind the old man, a man with gold-rimmed glasses followed step by step. Luo Shu thought to himself, it seems that the Lord has come. Walking to Luo Shu's side, the old man looked him up and down. Luo Shu also looked at the old man. Feeling Luo Shu's wanton gaze, the old man raised his eyelids and said nothing. The old man walked away, walked around behind the desk and sat down. Da da da, da da da. Luo Shu started to shake the chair frantically again, trying to adjust the angle of view back. Quote dot 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 quote. 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 The 2 teammates, the 4 bodyguards, and the old man all watched him silently. The man with glasses next to the old man couldn't help swallowing nervously. Everyone expressed a certain amount of admiration for this neuropathy from the bottom of their hearts. In addition to them, there are outside audiences. In the Luo Shu Live broadcast room, the number of people increased again. Now it is a working day outside, and it is still daytime, and there are 7,545 people in the live broadcast room. Barrage. Ha 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 ha, I laughed so hard. I saw this Buddies, Ghost Love, clip on the internet, it's really crazy. Such a depressing environment. I was stunned to play out the sense of sight of a comedy movie. Opening square bracket question mark question mark question mark. Isn't he afraid of death? Luo Shu must know that he won't die, that's why he's so reckless. Yes, after watching him pass the script twice, Luo Shu has a super high IQ. Ah, I don't think so. This guy has been mentally abnormal all along, and his brain circuits are different from ordinary people. Maybe he just had a convulsion. In this kind of death game where you will die if you make a mistake. Convulsions. Luo Shu, don't be a wave. I still want to follow you for a while longer. I only fan of living people. In fact, Luo Shu himself didn't realize it. Some of his behaviors are already irrationally pursuing excitement. Luo Shu knew in his heart that his behavior was dangerous, so he did it. So even more excited, he is intoxicated by the mobilization of all the cells of his body. The state of the brain running at full speed. In a way, he doesn't even care about death that much. It is true that he is sick, and not lightly. Sitting there, He Zhenggu finally showed a trace of exhaustion on his face, and he took the initiative to speak. The 3 of you owe our bank a lot of money, tens of millions, and you haven't paid it back. This time, you took the three of you from the casino. I was going to dismember him to feed the dog." When he said this, he was silent for a moment before he said, "But something happened to my family. Since you are well-known private detectives in Hong Kong Island, then you should be a dead horse as a living horse doctor, and use the waste." Speaking of this, he nodded at the man with glasses. Luo Shu and the three understood. This is pre-information. The three of them are all detectives, and they seem to be in the same group, and they all have a common hobby, gambling. So he owed a large sum of money to this old man who was obviously a gangster, and now he was responsible for solving the case. The bodyguard came over and helped them turn around. The man with glasses had already turned on the projector, and a curtain was lowered by the door. "I am Mr. Yi's personal assistant, and my name is Chen Falong. Next, let me explain this unfortunate disaster." A series of bloody photos appeared on the curtain. It looks like a picture of the murder scene taken by the police. A bloody female corpse is in the middle of the photo. The female corpse had obviously been stripped of her whole body of skin, and her muscle tissue was directly exposed to the air, which looked horrifying. The only indication of the corpse's gender identity is the clothes she wears. A ladylike black dress, a small white suit jacket, and high heels on her feet. There is also a Hermes sachet on the ground next to it. Luo Shu frowned. "It's not strange to kill people and skin them. Also help put on clothes, which is very strange. This body was found by a sanitation worker at 4:52 this morning, and the body was thrown in T Galleria under DFS in Jiangxishui," Chen Falong said. Yu Anqi whispered, "It is indeed Hong Kong Island." Chen Falong prepared his emotions in a very short period of time, and said in a crying voice, "The police checked the clothes and identity information of the deceased, and found. The deceased was Mr. Yi's daughter, Miss He Yushi." Luo Shu really wanted to see He Zhengu's expression at this time, but unfortunately he couldn't. "I can only hear Chen Falong say. After 3 hours of genetic comparison, it was confirmed that the deceased was Miss Yushi. The cause of death was cardiac paralysis caused by electric shock. The police notified us immediately and reviewed the traffic video, but at that time, the cameras in several blocks were blocked by hackers using technical means at the same time, and the police have no clue." Behind him, He Zhengu said in a deep voice, "You have 24 hours to find the murderer, otherwise, when the time is up, the timing device on your neck will automatically detonate." The two teammates were shocked. Luo Shu was so excited that he almost couldn't help laughing out loud. This is when the task appears. The main task has been triggered. Main task: find the murderer within 24 hours. The handcuffs on Luo Shu and the others were removed. The cable ties on the legs were also cut. The three of them stood up, moved their hands and feet, and turned to look at He Zhengu, who was sitting in the middle. Several bodyguards removed the chairs and put them against the wall. He Zhengu has a heroic aura. Even if his only daughter died, he just looked tired and heavy, without showing too much sadness. He looked at Luo Shu and the others with cold eyes. "You better not try to play tricks. This detonating device will explode if it leaves the range of Hong Kong Island. I want them to explode, they will explode, and if you try to dismantle them, they will also explode. So, you have only one way out, and that is to solve the case. Find the murderer who killed my daughter." Yu Anqi and Zhang Feng were very frustrated. The detonator made them feel great pressure. Although there is a risk of death in every script world, it is not so intuitive. Luo Shu was thinking, the detonating device on the neck, as long as it is not forced by the system, but artificially set by the NPC in the script, there must be a possibility of dismantling it. Even if this possibility is small, it still exists. But he didn't get too entangled in this, and solving the case is also very interesting. And, in horror games, is there really a simple murder? "What time is it?" he asked. Chen Falong glanced at his watch and replied, 8:40 in the evening. Luo Shu asked again. The DNA comparison came out within a day. Chen Falong had a strange expression on his face, as if he didn't understand why a professional detective would ask such a basic question. Of course, to be precise, it will come out in 3 hours. The other two teammates also didn't quite understand Luo Shu's intentions. Luo Shu paused, and finally asked, "How many years has it been this year?" Chen Falong frowned, looked at the expressionless He Zhengu, and then said to Luo Shu, "Are you looking for us?" Do you know who Mr. He is? Luo Shu also used an impatient tone. Don't waste my time. I only have 24 hours. Now, tell me, how many years? Never mind why. I must be here to solve the case. Luo Shu's acting skills successfully shocked the assistant. This kind of person eats this set. Chen Falong took a deep breath and said, 2029. Luo Shu understood. He himself is a medical student, and he had doubts when he heard it before. Although the remains looked very fresh, no matter how fast the DNA comparison was, it would take several days to issue a report. How could it be out in one day? Now it seems that science and technology are changing with each passing day. It is not surprising that criminal investigation and forensic medicine should have made great progress in 8 years. Seeing that the thorny head stopped talking, Chen Falong rolled his eyes and looked at the other two. What about you? Is there any problem? Zhang Feng's occupation in the outside world is an ordinary mechanic, and he has no idea at all about solving cases. On the contrary, Yu Anqi thought about it and asked, is there any preliminary analysis report from the police? Luo Shu nodded in agreement. Reliable or not, it is useful to refer to the police report. Chen Falong shook his head. Yes, but the content is too little. I can tell you directly. The police speculate that this is a copycat crime of serial murder. He talked for a few minutes, and Luo Shu heard almost no useful progress. It's all guesswork. Luo Shu had to ask himself, is there anything special about T-Square? Chen Falong replied, well, the Dior beauty counter there is the largest in Hong Kong, and it is also Miss He Yushi's favorite place to go. Luo Shu has never studied criminology, so he can only think based on logic. He felt something was weird and couldn't figure it out. He asked again, did the forensic examiner do the autopsy? Chen Falong said, because of Mr. Yi's pressure, the examination was carried out immediately. The cause of death was heart paralysis caused by electric shock, which seemed to be struck by lightning. It is suspected that he was imprisoned and tortured during his lifetime. Having said that, He Zhenggu's face was a little uncomfortable, and his face twitched. Luo Shu frowned. At this moment, Yu Anqi also found out that Zhang Feng was not just thinking about it, but this previously neurotic level 2 teammate seemed to have some ideas. She asked, what's the matter? Do you have any ideas? Luo Shu said, it's so weird, it's completely unreasonable. He looked down at the ground, speaking very softly, as if he was talking to himself. First of all, why do you want to skin? Simply imitating a serial killer. There are a lot of people who like skinning. Going back to the source, is it Zhu Yuanzhang who imitated? Or a crazy primitive man? This is unreasonable. This is just an excuse for the police to find no answer at present. Is it some kind of ritual sense of perverted criminals? Is it proving something? Throw it in the shopping mall that the deceased liked to visit before he was alive. Is this a ritual, or did she just die nearby? Just throw it away. Why knock teeth out? Abuse. Luo Shu couldn't help but think of the last script world, the gouged out eyes and the scratched face. Perhaps, also for related reasons. Eloquent teeth, fragrant mouth. Messed with some real hunk and pulled her teeth out. Chapter 31. However, she speaks with her tongue, so she should pull out her tongue. A murderer may not have a normal mind, and may think that eloquence is a description of teeth, so he knocked out her teeth. Luo Shu always felt that he was going astray, and this was all guesswork, and it was really unreliable. He asked, how is the deceased's temper? Does he have the habit of swearing? Chen Falong thought about it seriously, and then said with certainty, no, Miss Hiyushi is very educated and has a good temper. I have never seen her blush with anyone. Apart from being busy with work, she also spends a lot of time. She spends time doing social welfare activities and charity activities. She is a very gentle person. Luo Shu observed him, wondering if he was sincere or flattering. Zhang Feng spoke, he's telling the truth. Seeing the two people looking at him strangely, he pointed to his ear. I have a device, it can be regarded as a portable lie detector, which can tell who, speaking, through the frequency of the other party's speaking and breathing rhythm. People's emotions. Anyway, the main function is to detect lies. The two of them saw that Zhang Feng had a dark gold hearing aid in his ear. Luo Shu gave a thumbs up. This equipment is good. Horror games have a dialogue protection mechanism. When players talk about relevant content, NPCs in the script world will only hear other things. Yu Anqi asked, can you give me a computer or a mobile phone, the one that can connect to the internet? Chen Falong looked at his boss, and He Zhenggu nodded. So he brought her a laptop. Yu Anqi quietly began to use the computer to search for relevant information. First, she looked at He Yushi's profile. Quite excellent. 32 years old, Columbia University Master of Clinical Medicine. I established a biomedical company called Cambrian, mainly engaged in anti-tumor drugs. Luo Shu and Zhang Feng also leaned over to watch. Seeing that Anqi began to inquire about the stock situation of Cambrian company, Zhang Feng asked strangely, what is this for? It's only 24 hours, and you still want to speculate in individual stocks. Yu Anqi focused on checking the K-line chart, first looking at the rise and fall in trading volume in the past few days, and then looking at the recent month. I used to be a policeman. Zhang Feng gasped, policewoman. Yu Anqi added, the policeman of the Economic Investigation Division studied economics at school. We all know that the accidental deaths of rich people with high social status are almost always related to money. Luo Shu is very happy. The two teammates this time seemed to be quite useful. Sure enough, Yang Shulin was an accident. There are so many masters in horror games. After a while, Luo Shu, how is it? Can you buy the bottom? Yu Anqi instinctively said, the fundamentals of the company are good, and the valuation has been rising slowly. As long as it falls, then. After reacting, she glared at him, you have such a good attitude. You are still joking now. Zhang Feng was in a bad mood and was very anxious. What's going on? Did you see anything? Yu Anqi shook her head with an ugly face. Everything is normal. Normal can no longer be normal, very stable. Luo Shu said, the death has not been notified yet, and it is suppressed by Mr. He. It is normal that there is no fluctuation. He has no direction at all, so he can only find a direction at will. Just do a random search to see if she is well known on the internet, and see what others say about her. Chen Falong said unhappily, hey. I just said. Luo Shu hurriedly said, hey. It's not that I don't believe you, but people may have two faces in front of acquaintances and strangers, both for the purpose of solving the case. No matter how Chen Falong saw this guy, he didn't like it, so he hugged him with both hands, and didn't bother to look at him. Yu Anqi checked it, looked around, and became even more depressed. Ms. Hiyushi is really the same as what she looks like, because she often does charity activities, she is beautiful, and she is also an online celebrity entrepreneur, and the online reviews of her are very good. Said that she is also modest and polite when she meets in life, without any airs. Is it beautiful? Luo Shu leaned over, let me taste it. Yu Anqi gave him a disgusted look, and moved away a little. Can your focus be trusted? If we can't solve the case, we will die. Luo Shu moved a few times on the touchpad of the laptop and clicked on some photos. Hiyushi is well maintained. 32 years old, she looks like she is in her early 20s, with a pure smile and a slender figure, with a bit of Lin Dayu's aura of weak Lu Fufang. Okay. In Luo Shu's subconscious mind, something seemed to be touched. He frowned tightly, desperately looking at these photos. Something is wrong. I've figured it out. Something is wrong. But, where is it? Luo Shu impatiently flipped through these photos of Hiyushi. She is a noble princess, a weak princess, as if a gust of wind could knock her down. Pat clap clack, pat clap clack. He clicked the mouse faster and faster, his eyes rolled rapidly, and he kept scanning the photos. I just see the problem in the picture. What exactly is it? Just a little bit. Zhang Feng's hearing aids can hear Luo Shu's accelerated heartbeat at the moment, and he can also recognize his manic emotions. He is a little scared and asks, hey, brother Luo. What's the matter? What did you find? Tell us about it. Chant. Luo Shu stopped suddenly. The harsh clicking of the mouse stopped immediately. Luo Shu panted heavily. In just half a minute, many beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. Fine, Luo Shu answered in a low voice. He didn't find it, couldn't find it. Luo Shu could only close his eyes, take a deep breath, and calm down his chaotic mood. Seeing Luo Shu like this, Yu Anqi was also a little disappointed. From the perspective of a normal person, she made a suggestion, we can check the timeline of her life. This is her conclusion based on her experience in playing script killing. It's actually quite reliable, Chen Falong said. Ms. Hiyushi has always been very free. Her whereabouts are not easy to grasp. The last time she appeared in public was about 10 days ago. The last time I met Mr. He was at a charity dinner a week ago. In the middle, there are no clues about her. The last consumption record of the credit card, bought a watch 3 days ago, and she usually likes to use cash. Luo Shu's heart skipped a beat. This habit of Hiyushi. How does it look like a person who is ready to commit a crime at any time? Hide and seek, leaving no trace as much as possible. He Zhenggu never participated in their conversation. He turned around and went to the bookcase behind him to get a bottle of brandy, and then took out a goblet from the cupboard below. With his right hand trembling slightly, he poured himself a glass of wine. Luo Shu noticed that the old guy's right hand seemed to be a little dark, which was different from other parts of the skin. If you often wear gloves and the like, the skin on your hands will be whiter. Why is it darker? Luo Shu felt a little uncomfortable. This script world seems normal, there are no ghosts or monsters. But the points that he couldn't figure out, accumulated in his mind one after another, making him very uncomfortable. Yu Anqi put forward another normal idea, let's go and check the people around her. He Zhenggu looked disappointed, picked up his wine glass, and took a sip of brandy. Luo Shu vetoed, this is the work of the police. It is very time-consuming and labor-intensive. Once the investigation is completed, it will take less than 10 days and a half months. I guess there will be no useful information at all. Since the system has given 24 hours, there must be no need to solve the problem through such stupid methods. Yu Anqi obviously realized this too. The three of them seemed to have reached an impasse. He Zhenggu finished the glass of brandy and was about to pour the second glass when he said nonchalantly, you still have 23 hours left. The three of them were startled, and only then realized that an hour had passed so quickly. Zhang Feng said anxiously, what should I do? We can't delay any longer. We have to count the time for eating and drinking. Also, we will be sleepy. We need to rest properly. Also, the traffic jam on Hong Kong Island is also very serious. Really not much time is available. Luo Shu and Yu Anqi also knew that they couldn't delay. If there is no clue, you have to get out of here and go out to touch. Where are you going? The two said in unison, where is the body? Then the two looked at each other strangely. Luo Shu said, I'm a medical student, and I love dissection very much. I might find something. Yu Anqi said, I have equipment in the mysterious field, need to be used where the corpse is. Both accepted the other's reasons. He Zhenggu pointed to Chen Falong, take them to the hospital. Then he turned to the three people, from now on, you are all free. I will give each of you a mobile phone, a pass, and a gun. If the police obstruct your investigation, you can show your pass. The police will also cooperate. As long as you don't do stupid things, if you really solve the case, I will let you go, and even the debt will be written off. The bodyguard brought a pistol, a mobile phone, and He Zhenggu's bronzing business card. Luo Shu checked it over and over again, and found that it was just an ordinary business card, on which only He Zhenggu's name and the company's landline phone number were written. Nothing else. Such a business card is a pass that the police must cooperate with, which can be said to be very domineering. Putting away the pistol, Luo Shu raised his hand and said, can you give me another knife? The only useful skill he has now is the sister-killing sword technique. But this knife method needs a knife to use, and a scabbard, not a scalpel. He Zhenggu asked, what kind of knife? Machete, short knife, dagger. Luo Shu thought for a while, the one with the scabbard is fine, you can give it as you see. He Zhenggu ordered, bring over the decorative long knife that has been sharpened in the living room on the second floor. A bodyguard walked out consciously, and after a while, he brought back a black and gold inlaid, almost straight long knife. The old man seemed to really like black and gold. Luo Shu took the knife. Name, alloy tang knife forged by modern technology. Type, weapon. Quality, rare. Function, killing. Whether the script can be brought out, yes. Remarks, anyone who says this is a benzene samurai sword, you will hack him to death, and ask the ancestor to explain to him whether the grandfather is like the grandson or the grandson is like the grandfather. Not bad. Luo Shu was very pleasantly surprised. Although there was no special effect, At least it was a weapon of rare quality that could be taken out. The other two looked very envious. It turns out that weapons can also be obtained from NPCs. Zhang Feng also wanted to follow suit. I also want. He Zhenggu waved his hand. Go, I'm going to sleep, I'll wait for your good news. After speaking, he walked out with his hands behind his back. Zhang Feng was very sad. Then hurry up, let's go to the hospital to visit the corpse. Luo Shu adjusted his mood and became happy again. There was a strap on the scabbard, and he carried the knife on his shoulder. Ro, Chen Falong walked in front, then come with me. They go directly down from the elevator to the B4 underground car park. All three players were eye-opening. Luxury cars of every kind are parked here and there. Whether it is a limited edition supercar or an old-fashioned aristocratic sedan that symbolizes status. Ever seen, never seen. In this parking lot, the Lamborghini model they can still recognize is probably the bottom one. Yu Anqi took a deep breath. The smell of money is everywhere. Luo Shu's attention is different. It seems that new energy vehicles will become popular in 2029. You can see that each parking space is equipped with a charging pile. Although she didn't know whether it was the same world, Yu Anqi secretly searched the stock prices of new energy vehicle companies on her mobile phone. If there is a chance to return to the outside world, use the information gap to make a lot of money. Chen Falong drove them out of here in an old-fashioned Dabin business car, and drove onto the Central Garden Road in the Central and Western District where traffic was congested. Luo Shu sat in the back seat and looked back at the office building they left. It towered into the sky like a sharp sword, and the light sign on it read, Honggu Industrial Group. He checked it with his mobile phone, He Zhenggu. According to Duniang Encyclopedia, he is a top financial tycoon in Hong Kong Island, doing private equity, venture capital, future speculation, and everything. Of course, this is just superficial information. Luo Shu walked around the outer station, and judged He Zhenggu's true identity from the many voices cursing and cursing. A tycoon who made his fortune by relying on the black industry chain, mainly based on underground banks. Almost half of the underground casinos and money houses in Hong Kong Island are all surnamed He. Hey, no wonder the aura is so bright. This old man is the Black Emperor of the underground money empire on Hong Kong Island. Luo Shu sighed. The two teammates sitting in the middle row turned their heads and questioned their eyes, and Luo Shu generously shared it with them. So far, they have a general understanding of the task entrustor. Chen Falong, who was driving, said, I sent you the latest investigation report issued by the police just now, as well as the forensic autopsy report. On the way to the past, take a look for yourself first, and cheer up. The bomb on your neck, once detonate, and the whole head will explode into a rotten watermelon. Luo Shu took out his mobile phone, and sure enough, he saw that he had sent the message. For their own lives, all three of them began to read quietly and think positively. The police report was lackluster. It explained the investigation of the people around He Yushi. She usually has a lot of contacts in the business field, but in fact she is very close to people. My dear father, He Zhenggu, the police didn't dare to investigate him, and of course it wasn't necessary. Killing my daughter by myself, and then finding someone to investigate the murderer vigorously, even using a time bomb. It's not that SSS-level schizophrenic patients can't do this kind of thing. My own mother died of dystocia in the delivery room 32 years ago. Husband, no. Boyfriend, two people who have made public, one broke up 10 years ago, a doctor in Yingguo, the other broke up 2 years ago. Interestingly, he is also a doctor, but a psychiatrist, and now he is a director of a mental hospital. The police are more suspicious of him now and are interrogating him, even though he hasn't left the hospital at all in recent days, and the deceased died at 3 a.m. today. Luo Shu figured it out with his toes. The police were under pressure and tried their best to show that they were working hard. Even if they knew it was unreliable, they had to find someone to interrogate first, so as not to be affected by He Zhenggu's anger. He Yushi has very few female friends, and good relationships are all in the past tense. In recent years, she has almost cut off all invalid social interactions and devoted herself to her career. There is a male bodyguard, but only for important public occasions. And he is not in the country recently, so he directly passes. Next to him, the honest man Zhang Feng was going crazy. Isn't this all nonsense? Why show me this? It's useful. He turned off the phone, covered his head, and beat himself irritably. He was able to reach level 4 because of his daring to fight and his skills in the mechanical field. This kind of mind-boggling script world made him very collapsed. There were no scary ghosts at all, and the time bomb on his neck alone reduced his SAN value to a dangerous 70%. In Zhang Feng's live broadcast room, his fans are very anxious. What's the matter? Nothing happened, the SAN value has been wiped out. Yeah, from the beginning to the present, I have been talking almost without any accidents. I feel quite boring. What's wrong with Lao Zhang? You also don't feel pain in your back when you stand and talk. Why don't you tie a time bomb around your neck? Anyway, I'm not as bad as him. Then you use the keyboard to solve the case. To be honest, don't be sarcastic. I had a similar feeling during the senior high school entrance examination. I was almost desperate for the last 2 big math problems. I think if I have enough time, I might be able to solve them, but it's just maybe. But the time passed by every minute and every second. The pressure almost drove me crazy at that time, and I even had hallucinations. The high school entrance examination is like this. The pressure between life and death can be imagined. After driving for another 10 minutes, the car slowly stopped. Here we are, Chen Falong said, then turned off the engine and got out of the car. At this time, the explosive devices on the necks of Luo Shu, Zhang Feng, and Yuanqi suddenly started to beep. The three have different expressions. Luo Shu raised his eyebrows, Yuanqi frowned, Zhang Feng was shocked. Oh no, shake. Chen Falong liked to see them frightened. Standing outside the car, he said proudly, don't be too nervous, this is a timed alarm. Every hour, it will remind you on time. Remaining time. Luo Shu's heart skipped a beat. He deliberately pretended to be emotionally out of control, scowled, pushed the car door hard, and walked quickly towards Chen Falong. Chen Falong stepped back anxiously. What are you doing? What are you doing? I warn you, don't. Without saying a word, Luo Shu loaded the pistol and pressed it against Chen Falong's forehead. This is the underground garage of a private hospital. There are cars coming out of the garage and cars entering the garage. They saw this scene, but no one wanted to cause trouble. They didn't want to see it, and left in a hurry. Chen Falong was frightened and stupid at the time. He never expected that this detective who seemed the best to get along with would directly draw his gun. Luo Shu leaned close to his ear and said darkly, "Four-eyed boy, are you threatening me?" Chen Falong's hair stood on end. His first reaction was to touch the detonator in the inner pocket of his suit. On the temple, the cold muzzle hit hard. His mind immediately collapsed, his legs softened, he fell to the ground, closed his eyes and raised his hands high. Don't kill me. I'm just I don't mean anything else. Just to remind you. Zhang Feng stepped forward a bit worried. Yuanqi grabbed him cleverly, and gave him a meaningful look. She sort of guessed what Luo Shu was thinking. Luo Shu didn't say a word. Holding the gun in his right hand, he pressed Chen Falong's head tightly, unbuttoned his suit with his left hand, reached into his internal test pocket, and took out a small detonating remote control. There are 3 detonation buttons on it, and there is a glass cover outside the detonator to avoid false triggering. Luo Shu looked at it, and he had a bottom line in his heart. Oh, push to action. This is not taking us seriously at all. After Zhang Feng saw it, his mood improved, and he secretly said to Enqi, this kind of detonator, shielding the radio waves can make it ineffective. Although he still has no clue to solve the case, he suddenly saw a way out. Luo Shu knew that he couldn't talk nonsense at this time, since this guy is timid. He just made a big show to scare him. Seeing Luo Shu take out the detonator, Chen Falong tensed up completely, staring at the movements and expressions on his hands without blinking. Then, he saw Luo Shu look up, the corners of his mouth curled up, and his hands were exerting force, as if he was going to shoot in the next second. Chen Falong didn't have time to think about the countermeasures, so he shouted in a hurry, don't shoot. Don't shoot. You killed me. You all have to die. There is still a detonator. There is more than one. There is another one at Mr. Yi's place. I will kill you all, you have to die too. Don't shoot. Zhang Feng is level 4 and Yuanqi is level 3. They are both new players who have been playing horror games for a long time. They both looked at each other and smiled at the same time. Luo Shu was probing and succeeded. Detonators, only 2. Push type trigger, depending on the structure, there is a high probability that it is a radio remote control. There is a chance. Even if the task is not completed, there is still a chance to survive. Chen Falong held his head and closed his eyes. Taking this opportunity, Luo Shu also turned his head and exchanged glances with the 2 teammates, smiling happily. Yu Anqi held back her laughter and silently gave a thumbs up. Well done. Luo Shu turned around and continued to act coldly, but put away the gun. Chen Falong felt the pressure on his temples disappear, and knowing that his threat had worked, he slowly raised his head, opened his eyes, and looked at Luo Shu panting heavily. The coldness on Luo Shu's face loosened, showing a perverted smile, gently put the detonator into Chen Falong's pocket, and patted it. You are holding our lives with the detonator. Be careful, the sword bearer. Afterwards, he put away his gun and relaxed his tone further. It's nothing else, we all want to survive, but time is running out and the pressure is already high, so please stop talking nonsense and provoking us, or any of us will lose control of our emotions. We will die, and you will not be able to complete your work, and Mr. He will not make you feel better, will he? Chen Falong breathed a sigh of relief. His back was wet, and his whole body was a little weak. He was not an old minister when He Zhenggu started his business, but a courtier who had just slipped into the position recently and couldn't bear such pressure at all. After being frightened, to be honest, Chen Falong's attitude suddenly changed. Yes, it's my problem, it's my fault. He swallowed. It will definitely not happen in the future. Come on, don't waste time, let's go to the morgue. After all, he hurriedly led the way ahead. The 3 followed. Yu Anqi and Zhang Feng walked to Luo Shu's side from behind, and both looked at him with slightly complicated eyes. On the one hand, of course, I admire it, on the other hand, I am also a little scared. They all felt that Luo Shu felt very different from ordinary people. A kind, uncontrollable, insecure feeling of not knowing what will happen next second. Kind of like a dangerous psychopath. Luo Shu misunderstood. He spread his hands, and explained helplessly. I know that I can kill him just now, kill a lackey, and He Zhenggu won't detonate it in advance, but it will be very troublesome. This is a hospital, and the police will come later. Come on, when the time comes, we will waste our own time. The eyes of the 2 teammates became more complicated. Luo Shu was very helpless. Hey, young people nowadays, are you so impatient? He had no choice but to sigh and said, okay, let me tell you in advance, I also think he is very upset. When the time is right, I will definitely kill him, don't worry. Zhang Feng's Adam's apple twitched, and his sand value dropped by another 5%. After all, nothing was said. Yu Anqi took a few deep breaths and forced a smile. Well, you just want to be happy. The live broadcast room of Luo Shu was very lively. My little heart, Luo Shu, I think the police have to check if he has a criminal record. It is said that he is only a sophomore. This, psychological warfare, interrogation, so proficient. Really, genius. Seeing Luo Shu, I am sure I came to this world to make up the numbers. Teammates are terrified, ha 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 ha. You said it lightly, they were trembling when they heard it. Yu Anqi's live broadcast room. Baby angel, stay away from him. This Cliff is a dangerous person. On the contrary, it's safer to be closer to this lunatic in a white coat. They are teammates. This guy is so strong. He seems to be crazy, but in fact he is impeccable. Let's keep a distance. High IQ players, if they want to bypass the rules and harm their teammates, there seems to be a way. As long as it is indirect enough, the system will not judge intentional damage. What's his name? I want to go to his live broadcast room to see. So hot. Sociopathic doctor. Ha, love. Zhang Feng's live broadcast room. Old Zhang. No, you were frightened off by your teammate's sand value. In the game, the cold light shone in the morgue, making the corpse freezer that occupied the entire wall look even colder. They followed Chen Falong in, and Zhang Feng couldn't help but ask, that's why we came in like this. Chen Falong didn't dare to show off now, and explained with a strong smile. they all know me, this hospital itself is Mr. Yi's property, and the old man himself, including Ms. He, and our employees, usually come here for physical examination. Quote. Luo Shu didn't want to waste time, walked to the refrigerator, which one? Chen Falong was obviously still afraid of this miserable corpse, the one on the left. I'll call the doctor on duty. Crash. Luo Shu opened the bolt and pulled the mortuary bed out. Chen Falong was taken aback by him again, but he was already afraid of Luo Shu, so naturally he didn't dare to say anything, and he didn't call for anyone. Chen Falong laughed and said, it seems that you don't need it. On the mortuary bed, the corpse was not exposed, and there was a black plastic body bag. Luo Shu unzipped the zipper without the slightest psychological barrier. This female corpse, whose skin had been stripped off, was exposed in front of him like this. There is a very long Y-shaped incision on the chest and abdomen of the female corpse, which has been stitched up, which is the trace of the autopsy. The moment Luo Shu saw the female corpse, Luo Shu's frown, which had been slightly frowned, relaxed. What a beautiful body. Barrage in the live broadcast room. I knew it. I dare not look at it, oh my god. But I heard Luo Shu say a classic line. A man with weird aesthetics. I seriously suspect that he studied medicine just to touch dead bodies. Luo Shu is simply a schizophrenic patient. Funeral, heart, sick, mad. I found that I can only watch Luo Shu, and I cough when I watch others. Again, I only watch Luo Shu now, because I won't feel scared when watching this guy. He himself is scarier than everything in the script world. Yu Anqi and Zhang Feng didn't dare to go there, but when they heard this, they looked at each other even more. Yu Anqi felt a little nauseous. Chen Falong endured it as much as possible, pressing his left hand on his right hand, trembling a little. Now he always feels that this lunatic will kill himself on a whim at any time. Do you want to act first? Blow him up. But if you act like that, Mr. He will kill me too. Luo Shu carefully observed the female corpse with an admiring gaze. Really beautiful. Since there is no skin, muscle tissue can be directly observed. The female corpse looks very slender, but her flowing muscles are beautiful and perfect from the perspective of human aesthetics. At the same time, the awkward feeling in Luo Shu's heart became stronger. He always felt that there was a very important clue, right in front of him. But I can't catch it. Yu Anqi asked, did you see anything? Luo Shu shook his head. Yu Anqi took a deep breath, then let me do it. She needs to use skills. Luo Shu retreated to the side, still thinking hard, but couldn't find a solution. Yu Anqi's expression was ugly, but it wasn't the fear just now, it was more like shyness. She blushed slightly, and squinted at Chen Falong. Go out first, clear the nearby doctors on duty, and don't eavesdrop, or I'll shoot you dead. Chen Falong was dumbfounded by this request. What are you going to do? Luo Shu stood leaning against the wall with his arms folded and bowed his head. At this moment, he suddenly raised his head and looked over coldly. Chen Falong nodded immediately. Yes, but don't mess around. Forget it, forget about them. A dead person, how to fix it? He quickly slipped out. He didn't want to stay in the morgue for a moment. Only then did Luo Shu look at her curiously. What kind of skill is that? Yu Anqi's face was flushed red. She just lowered her head and said, anyway, you are not allowed to laugh for a while. Then a red package was taken out from the inventory. Name, package of Calling Soul Master. Type, ceremony supplies. Function, Calling Soul. Remarks, Calling souls is a professional job, and everything must be done. She put the red package on the ground, opened it, it was full, and there were a lot of things that neither Luo Shu nor Zhang Feng could understand. From a bundle of incense, she pulled out 3 sticks, each as thick as a baby's arm. Then he took out a stone basin and sprinkled some black unknown substances into it. Then, insert 3 sticks of incense. Yu Anqi picked up another red and white Han suit, which looked like a theater costume, and put it on. There were many colorful cloths hanging from the waistband of the dress. Then she let down her long hair and put a funny chicken feather headdress on her head. Under this attire, the beauty of goddess Yu Anqi suddenly plummeted. Luo Shu and Zhang Feng stared at each other blankly. This time, Zhang Feng made the correct judgment first. Your body doesn't mean you want to dance to the master. Yu Anqi said weakly, yes. PFF'd. Both of them couldn't help it. Yu Anqi said angrily, don't laugh. Both held back. Luo Shu. We are professionally trained, no matter how funny something is, we don't know how to laugh. Zhang Feng held back at first, but now he failed completely, ha 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 ha. Yes, unless you can't help it. Luo Shu couldn't help laughing, ha 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 ha. There is a tacit understanding. Have you seen mermaids too? Then the two clapped hands. Yu Anqi, who was wearing chicken feathers and a witch's robe, stared at them indifferently. You can continue to make noise, and then the alarm will be called again, and then we will waste another hour. Luo Shu and Zhang Feng restrained themselves immediately. Yu Anqi took a deep breath. Okay, I will use a skill to call back the soul later, as long as the person died within 24 hours, use it next to the corpse, this skill will be 100% successful. Luo Shu was shocked, to have such nonsense skills. Zhang Feng also had a similar idea. But this skill has great limitations. Yu Anqi frowned and said, after being recruited by me, the soul can't speak. It has to wait for me to ask questions, and I can only ask one question, and she can only answer one question. The soul's answer can only say 7 words. And the time for the soul to appear is also very short, it is impossible to last for a long time. Luo Shu understood immediately. So we can't waste questions. Let's discuss it first and ask her what is the most efficient. Yu Anqi nodded. When Zhang Feng heard it, he was overjoyed. Isn't this skill a direct solution to the case? That's great. Of course, I'll ask who the murderer is. Luo Shu. What if she was attacked by someone and didn't see the murderer, or saw the murderer but didn't know the murderer, what would she say? This might waste a question. It's a waste of all opportunities. Yu Anqi said coldly. This skill can only be used once in a script world. Zhang Feng thought along this line of thought and found that there were many problems. Luo Shu quickly imagined various questions in his mind, and then overturned them, and finally came to a conclusion. That's the only way, ask her for clues about the murderer. Can the question be a bit vague? Let the soul of Hiyushi choose to tell us focus. Yu Anqi's eyes lit up. This is fine. Luo Shu said. I'm sure there is no problem, then let's start quickly, we don't have time. Zhang Feng naturally had no objection. Yu Anqi nodded heavily. She took a few more deep breaths, then took a special ancient fire pocket and lit 3 incense sticks. The gray-white smoke with a sense of nothingness rose up, which seemed real and illusory, unlike half of the incense smoke. Luo Shu looked up, and Yu Anqi said, don't worry, this kind of smoke can only be seen, not smelled, and it will not trigger a fire alarm. Having said that, she took up her rattle and tambourine, and began to perform. Name: Soul Call. Type: Skill, Spiritual Art. Special Effects: through specific singing, props and soul-calling words, the purpose of summoning the soul of the dead is achieved. After successfully calling the soul, you can communicate with the deceased before counting breaths, and the answer cannot exceed 7 characters. You can tell the soul this rule. Learning conditions: unlock the mysterious domain, unlock the magic domain, unlock the spiritual domain. Requirements for use: the soul of the soul-calling subject should not be separated from the body for more than 48 hours. 100% success rate within 24 hours, the longer the time, the lower the probability. Consumption: 1000 sanity points and 1000 health points. Remarks: Soul, she, return, come. Yu Anqi didn't want to use this skill at first. It hurts too much. Although the various attribute values of horror games are hidden, they can actually be calculated through certain fixed value consumption skills. 1000 points of sanity and health, maybe it's nothing if the level is high, but now it's equivalent to cutting off 1/3 of the life and nearly half of the sanity. And the release process of this skill is slow and stupid. If it wasn't really impossible. Sighing, Yu Anqi faced the ashes of the incense candle, lowered her head, and gradually entered the state. In this way, absolute calm was maintained for a while. She was shocked. Then her head began to sway, and this sway moved the neck, moved the body, moved the limbs. Her whole body shook like an epilepsy, and the tambourine and rattles rattled. She sang in a strange and funny tone. Soul, she, return, come, raised her hands full and kept shaking. Then start dancing. It's ugly and weird to dance the dance of the great god. Go, he, ji, hang, dry. What, for, who, for, fang, some. Shi, Jun, Ji, La, place. Luo Shu recognized that this call to soul word came from Chuchi, calling the soul. This scene is quite scary and absurd. In the morgue, in front of the dead body, under the cold light, a beautiful woman dressed as a witch, jumping like crazy. Luo Shu can't imagine what kind of script world these sisters have gone through to get this kind of skill. Awkward, ugly, but useful. After a ceremony, those gray and white cigarettes gradually condensed, forming a woman's face. For this skill, Yu Anqi lost 1/3 of her health and nearly half of her san. Now she is sweating profusely, her eyelids are swollen, and she is extremely uncomfortable. The san value is 56%. She just felt upset, and the scene in front of her was a little distorted. In a trance, she saw a lot of blood oozing from that corpse. Yu Anqi shook her head and covered her eyes, she knew it was an illusion. One of the side effects caused by the rapid drop in san value. The fuzzy soul condensed by the gray smoke, the crescent eyebrows and almond eyes, although the clarity is not high, but it can still be seen that it is a beauty, it is Hiyushi. Luo Shu narrowed his eyes slightly. Perhaps because of being forcibly recruited, Hiyushi's soul was in a state of confusion, her eyes were a little empty, and she looked very different from the gentle and elegant woman in the photo. Yu Anqi opened her eyes with difficulty. Listen, Hiyushi, you are dead. I was hired by your father to solve the case, a detective. I awakened your soul in some way, but you can only answer 7 questions. Words. Do you understand? Hiyushi's soul looked delirious and frowned. Yu Anqi gritted her teeth. It was the first time she used this skill, she was not sure at all, she seemed very unconscious. But if you delay the time, I'm afraid the soul will dissipate soon. Luo Shu saw her concern. Just ask. What she says counts. Hiyushi nodded and asked, what is the clue of the murderer who killed you? This question sounds awkward, but it completely follows the skill rules and tries to make the question as open as possible. Hiyushi's soul can answer whatever it wants. Hiyushi's expression moved, and there was infinite uneasiness and panic in his gray eyes. In the morgue, her voice from the underworld sounded. School, monsters, a lot of me. After finishing speaking, the 3 incense candles went out instantly. A wisp of green smoke rose up and dissipated along with the gray smoke. Yu Anqi couldn't hold on anymore, she fell to the ground, gasping for breath. Finally, a clue. Learning, school. Zhang Feng looked constipated just now, but now he seems to have just emptied several tons of stool, his body is smooth, and he jumped up excitedly. Ha! School. A monster killed her in the school. We can go and tell the police. Check out the nearby schools. Although Yu Anqi was very tired, she was also a little happy, yes. With the clue of the school. Hoo-hoo, other things will be easy to handle. We have Mr. Yi's pass, we can cooperate with the police and let them investigate nearby schools. Check people, check surveillance, check for clues of abnormal events. Zhang Feng asked, will it take a long time to check this way? We only have 23 hours. Yu Anqi struggled to stand up. Although the scene in front of her was still a little distorted and the hallucinations were still affecting her, they could be overcome. We have no other way. I believe that in 2029, the AI technology and face recognition must be more mature. Maybe, we can find it soon. Zhang Feng was impatient. Then let's not hurry. Yu Anqi, let's go. The two hit it off immediately, and ran out in a hurry. After running for a few steps, they realized that Luo Shu hadn't followed. Yu Anqi turned her head and called him, let's go. What are you doing? Are you in a daze? Luo Shu felt something was wrong. From the first time he saw Hiyushi's photo, this kind of strangeness stuck in his heart like a thorn. Seeing her soul just now, this feeling is even stronger. But this feeling is too mysterious to explain. Luo Shu can only find outliers that can be determined by other logic. He said, school, monster, these 2 words are easy to understand. What does she want to say after that? A lot of me, what? A lot of people I don't know. A lot of people I'm afraid of. People. A lot of me what? Yu Anqi was a little depressed. Why is this neurotic always obsessed with unimportant points? No matter what she wants to say, she hasn't finished speaking. It is impossible for us to guess the content behind. Time is running out. There are 2 hints in front. Enough. Subconsciously, Zhang Feng was a little afraid of Luo Shu, and he expressed that he wanted to stay away from him, and he also stood by Yuanqi's side. That's right, we can only pursue this clue now. Are you going to follow? No, if you follow, we will check it first, and call if there is anything. Luo Shu looked at the corpse and said nothing. Such muscle lines require long-term training. And it's very balanced training. Sudden, he frowned, as if he had discovered something. Luo Shu walked towards the corpse suddenly. Seeing Luo Shu's inexplicable behavior, Zhang Feng and Yuanqi felt a little terrified. He's done it. Luo Shu didn't wear gloves, so he just touched it with his bare hands. Fingers touched the stiff and cold shoulder. There is the front of the deltoid. Then his fingers hopped lightly on those muscles that were exposed to the air without skin protection, and touched the water. One click, and another click. From the shoulders to the arms, then the serratus anterior on the trunk, the external obliques, then the vastus lateralis of the thighs, the gastrocnemius of the calves. His eyes are full of searching, but his fingers are gentle as if they are touching a lover. Zhang Feng and Yuanqi, two normal people, already have goosebumps all over their bodies. Yu Angel tugged Zhang Feng. Let's go, let him flirt with the corpse, we have to do something serious. Zhang Feng nodded. They turned to leave, and the door of the morgue was opened, and then slowly closed automatically. Luo Shu really thought the body of this corpse was beautiful, almost like an amateur athlete. It was like a flash of lightning hitting the Tianling guy. Luo Shu got it. He finally grasped where that awkward feeling came from. At this moment, this, skinless and faceless, corpse, in his eyes, began to model again. A serious mannequin. On such a perfect muscle line, a layer of fat is laid first, and then the skin is covered. Restore the appearance of the dead body. That is a sunny and strong body. It is also Hiyushi's face, one is strong and healthy, the other is weak and elegant. The two images simply cannot overlap. The body shape is not right at all. Luo Shu quickly turned on the phone and checked the forensic report. While reading, he said to himself, we have all been misled. Why do we have to skin them? Because although they have very similar faces, their bodies are very different. Why knock out the teeth? It's not torture. It's purely because the results of the tooth marks identification will be completely different. In the forensic report, he found height information. The net height of the corpse is 1.66. He immediately called Chen Falong. Do you have information about Miss He's height? Chen Falong hesitated for a moment. I don't know, let me ask. Miss He's medical examination file must be here, just wait a moment. Okay. After a while, Chen Falong. 1.66, why? Luo Shu hung up the phone. His heart was pounding. He looked at the faceless female corpse lying on the mortuary bed again. Luo Shu smiled. Ha, same height. That's not right at all. After a person dies, his height will also shrink. We have all been fooled by genetic comparisons. The genetic identification of remains in this world is too fast and relies too much on genetic identification, leading to such a stupid mistake. Forensic scientists compare gene sequences and nothing else. As a medical student, he certainly understands this basic knowledge. Suppose a pair of identical twins with the same genes are raised in different environments. Genes don't change naturally, but gene expression will never be the same. Eating different food, teeth wear, growth rhythm and direction will be different. The difference in exercise makes a difference in body shape. Even subtle changes in mood will affect the level of hormone secretion, resulting in essential differences. So there are no two identical people in this world, just like there are no two identical leaves. Luo Shu came to a conclusion. Same gene, different gene expression. You are 1 and 2. Biologically you are 1, but sociologically. You are 2. There are only two possibilities. 1, you are identical twins. Second, at least one of you is clone. In this script world, the system has always been extremely silent. At this moment, the prompt finally jumped out again. The hidden mission has been triggered. Hidden mission. Find the clone cultivation base and uncover the mystery of Hiyushi's death. Luo Shu raised his neck, looked at the light above, crossed his hands and stretched forward vigorously, relaxing his body a bit. Is it really a clone? Studio. After a short period of silence, the barrage blasted the screen again. Medicine mighty. I didn't fight a single fight, but I've already reached the GC. Reached the pinnacle. This scripted world actually involves cloning. Cut open layer by layer, peeling off the cocoon, everything is going to work. Yes, it works. Luo Shu felt something was wrong very early on. When he saw the photo, because the muscles of the corpse were too strong, and Hiyushi was obviously thin, his instinct as a medical student issued a warning. This corpse is also very thin. I'm a plastic surgeon. To be honest, I'm only now realizing that there's thick fat and skin on the outside of human muscles. Monkey. This female corpse is indeed a strong one, it's definitely not Hiyushi. Then, what about Hiyushi herself? In the game. Luo Shu was also thinking about this question. Deliberately leaving the body at the entrance of the tea mall where Hiyushi often goes, peeling the skin and putting on her clothes, and throwing the bag beside it, this is almost to convince everyone that this is Hiyushi herself. Why? Civet cat for prince. Still is. Golden cicada escapes its shell. Luo Shu took out the brainstem scalpel from the equipment rack, and decisively pierced through the original suture. A sound of poo. Rip. Check again. In the live broadcast room, many people who thought they had a strong mentality silently put down their dinner. Since Luo Shu had already been dissected once, the review of Luo Shu was also very fast. After the end, Luo Shu put away the scalpel. The bell of the detonator once an hour only rang. There are 22 hours left. Luo Shu frowned and looked at the disfigured corpse with its abdominal cavity wide open in front of him, and casually pushed it back into the freezer. He didn't want to waste time at all, and went outside to ask the doctor for stitches, or ask the doctors to help with stitches. Luo Shu can be regarded as the scum who has the least respect for the dead among medical students. He looked down at the forensic practice report on his mobile phone and compared his findings just now. The cause of her death is actually quite strange. Cardiac paralysis caused by electric shock. But in fact, whether her heart is paralyzed or not, no curse, she is dead. Luo Shu inspected her cavity and found that the viscera were half-cooked. According to the forensic report, her injury was similar to a lightning strike, a very weak lightning strike. The voltage is about 5K to 6K, and the current runs through from head to foot, about 15 amps, and lasts for 5 seconds. The voltage and current are very common, but what kind of lightning will strike for 5 seconds? Are you so special? But besides the lightning strike, Luo Shu couldn't imagine what kind of weapon was used to kill him. Boom. Knocking. The door was pushed open, and Chen Falong leaned in half his head. What's the matter? Where are they? Luo Shu opened the door and walked out. Go and find Mr. He, I found something. Really? Chen Falong was very happy, although he didn't care about it, but as a loyal dog, he must always perform. Luo Shu nodded. The two of them found another direction, and they have already gone to investigate. The clues from my side. I have to tell Mr. He himself directly. Okay, then let's go. Getting into the car again, sitting in the back seat, Luo Shu was thinking about what to say later and a little impolite little plan. He checked the pistol and silencer that He Zhenggu had given him. Not all weapons obtained in the script world will have an introduction in the equipment column. Then the efficacy cannot be guaranteed. It might even be fake. He opened the car window, looked at the street outside, raised his gun with shrunken hands, closed one eye, and aimed at various imaginary targets outside like a child with a toy gun. Still dubbing by himself, "Bew bew, bew." Chen Falong saw it from the rearview mirror, and he said humorously, "This gun is a Walter P99. It uses a special 9mm pistol bullet and is specially equipped with this silencer. If you see something that is not pleasing to the eye on the street, just shoot it." People around couldn't hear the gunshot at all, the sound was as soft as a fly. He never expected that Luo Shu's objection would be, "Oh, let me try, the fat woman in front of the McDonald's seems to be glaring at me." Immediately without hesitation, he pulled the trigger and fired a shot. He aimed at an iron traffic sign. Like farting. On the streets of Central, Hong Kong Island, this fart is almost silent. Chen Falong's expression changed suddenly, and he quickly looked into the rearview mirror to observe Luo Shu's actions. "Luo. Mr. Luo, did you really shoot? On the street?" Luo Shu looked back and observed the billboard. "Yeah. Sure enough, a lunatic." Chen Falong trembled. "Then, did you hit it?" In the scene he imagined, the fat woman at the door of McDonald's was spattered with blood for 5 steps, and the people around hurriedly fled, creating chaos. He looked in the rearview mirror, but it was too far away for his perspective. Luo Shu leaned on the back of the chair and looked back. He was looking at the billboard. There was only E in the firearms field, and it really missed. He said, "No, the marksmanship is too bad." Chen Falong heaved a sigh of relief, and decided not to talk too much. At the same time, he silently touched the detonator in his arms. If the time is right, blow up this lunatic as soon as possible, he thought. After Luo Shu tried it once and confirmed that the pistol and the silencer were both real and easy to use, he began to count the bullets. Back to Honggu Industrial Building. Chen Falong took Luo Shu to the 25th floor. This is He Zhenggu's office floor in his half-home. This Hong Kong Island's underground financial black emperor is quite hardworking and often sleeps in the company. The elevator door opened, and standing in front of him was a bodyguard whom he had seen before. He stretched out his hand. "What are you doing?" "Mr. He has already rested." Chen Falong communicated in the past. Mr. Luo was ordered to investigate Ms. He's case. "Now that I have important clues, I want to tell Mr. He face to face." The bodyguard stood with his hands crossed in front of him, and shook his head coldly and arrogantly. "No, during the break, don't disturb anything." Chen Falong rolled his eyes. Then he turned to Luo Shu and said, "Oh, then we can only talk about it tomorrow morning." Since there was this bodyguard in the way, even if He Zhenggu blamed him, he would be the one to blame. Chen Falong was too lazy to offend a close servant beside He Zhenggu for Luo Shu's precarious fate. Luo Shu said coldly, "It's only 11 o'clock now, Mr. He is such a giant, so early to bed." The bodyguard said angrily, "Mr. He's daughter is dead." Luo Shu purposely shouted at the top of his voice, "Mr. He's daughter is not dead. Her daughter is alive and kicking. She may be having a new love pool party with dozens of hunks to celebrate breaking away from Mr. He's control." Barrage in the live broadcast room. Opening square bracket exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark. Exciting. Can you add a hunk to the pool party? Crazy temptation on the verge of death. Is he really not afraid that He Zhenggu will kill him with a single shot? Luo Shu's game is getting bigger and bigger. Zhongwan is testing the gun. The black boss is making loud noises at the gate, spreading rumors about the dead. I dare not look at it. I'm afraid that Luo Shu will be killed in the next second. Mengxin is afraid. Has this little brother been so fierce all this time? It's completely different from ordinary players' gameplay. I also think that Luo Shu played too big. In the horror game, he swelled up and got cold easily. Crazy. He Zhenggu will definitely kill him. That bodyguard and Chen Falong had the same thoughts. They have never been so shocked. Never have I been so sure that a life is about to die. In the corridor, footsteps sounded. He Zhenggu came out wearing a nightgown and slippers, with a gloomy face about to drip poisonous water. His eyes were like a poisonous snake, staring at Luo Shu. "Do you want to die?" At this time, the momentum must be strong. Luo Shu thought, to be stronger. He stretched out his hand and pointed at He Zhenggu's nose. "He Zhenggu, are you playing with me? I've seen the corpse, it's not He Yushi at all." He Zhenggu's facial muscles began to twitch. He was angry and startled, but the glimmer of hope he heard from Luo Shu prevented him from ordering to kill this ignorant fool. He just held back his emotions and asked, "You? What the hell are you talking about?" Luo Shu spread his hands. "The genetic test may be a match, but do you know why this corpse has to be skinned and its teeth pulled out? Because this corpse only has the same genes as your daughter. You are such a big man, is it true? Being played around. This corpse is a clone." These words were like 5 thunderbolts. He Zhenggu was able to get to where he is today. Not only is he not stupid, he should even be said to be extremely smart. In his mind, some possibilities suddenly came to mind. He Zhenggu's current emotions exploded almost silently. The anger of being betrayed, the humiliation of being kept in the dark, and a deep sense of powerlessness. He reached out, leaning on the wall. "You, come in and talk." He Zhenggu seemed to be 10 years older in an instant, and he turned around and was about to walk inside. "Okay." Luo Shu drew his gun and faced He Zhenggu's back. Without turning his head, he straightened his arm and pressed it against the forehead of the bodyguard on the left. Bodyguard. Babu. 2 shots. Chen Falong fell, and he didn't even have time to feel fear. Change hands. Facing Chen Falong. The tense Chen Falong had blue veins on his forehead, and a thought just flashed through his mind. To die. Babu. 2 shots. He died. He fell straight back, hit the elevator, and sat down slowly. There are 2 blood holes on his forehead, and he will not die with peace. He Zhenggu, who has had a rough life all his life, immediately understood what happened when he heard the unique sound of silenced guns. Annuity Tanabata's old body suddenly rushed forward, and then rolled. Click. Oh, the old guy twisted his waist and howled like a wolf in pain. He fell to the ground, arched his body backwards, clutched his waist, and throbbed in pain. The cold muffler hit the back of his head. A calm and steady hand, an orderly carpet search of his body, obviously to make sure that there is no threat at all on him. Luo Shu said with emotion. Time is ruthless, heroes are easy to grow old. Luo Shu supported the old man with one hand, forced him to stand up, and let him stand in front of him as a third-level human armor. Then he walked in cautiously with a gun, and quickly used the gun to sweep all possible hidden bodyguards. Corner, although the probability of that is very low. I looked around and confirmed it was safe. Luo Shu then took him to a relatively empty living room to avoid hiding weapons elsewhere. The gun was always aimed at He Zhenggu. The old guy's face was ugly, and the old horse stumbled. My life has been full of wind and waves, and today the gutter capsized. Young man, if you kill me, you won't be able to escape. In the live broadcast room, the wind direction completely reversed. I was wrong, I was really wrong, I shouldn't hastily set a flag for Shirago. It scared me to death. It was so sudden. Opening square bracket ? It's so simple that the status is reversed. The me 30 seconds ago, go crazy. He Zhenggu will definitely kill him. The me 30 seconds later, go crazy. He Zhenggu is going to be killed. The me 30 seconds ago, don't dare to watch. I'm afraid that Luo Shu will be killed in the next second. The me after 30 seconds, don't dare to watch. I'm afraid that He Zhenggu will be killed in the next second. The wife is decisive, totally unexpected. Deng Fu understands. Cool. A person like Luo Shu really must hold his fate in his own hands. He doesn't accept the time bomb around his neck at all, he has been thinking about it all the time. The shot that seemed to scare the man with glasses on the road just now was actually a test shot. And I'm still testing the sound of the muffler. Admiration to the point of being overwhelmed. I didn't see his little thoughts at all. I always thought he was trying his best to solve the case. Super dual-core processor, multitasking with ease. He Zhenggu had never taken these 3 so-called detectives seriously before. He just believed that there was a specialization in the field of surgery, and they were needed to solve the case. Never expected that this Luo Shu would be so courageous. The timing is so precise. He purposely said something surprising just now, just to win such a moment. When the 3 of them were all dazed. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.